Hare Krishna, it's time. Welcome everyone. So maybe Viśvakarmā Prabhu can do the introduction. I think microphone is off, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Ram Raghava Prabhu, for your participation in the Prabhupada Disciples Association network. And listening to Prabhupada chanting there have this rather nice set of headphones that I've been using for the class. So they give a very high level fidelity sound. And to hear Prabhupada play the mridanga is extraordinary. That is another symptom of his multiple exquisite talents, that he was also an amazing musician of the kirtan, and the purity of his singing and the expertise of his playing the mridanga, along with, they double-tracked some of the early recordings so that he would also play the cartel. So he would play the cartel, play the harmonium, play the mridanga, and also do the singing, because a lot of the people were not really musicians at all, and they couldn't keep time, they couldn't keep melody, they just were not trained as such. And Prabhupada was an expert musician, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental bhajans and kirtans. Amazing. This is part of Prabhupada's legacy. And before we have the class with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, I wanted to just reiterate what, for the new people that are attending, especially so that they can understand why we're doing this. Because really you have to ask the question to yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? What's the reason behind it? What's the motive? And according to our scriptures, the motive of the devotee is to please the spiritual master. That's basically the bottom line. And if you can please Yashat Prashadat Bhagavat Prasado, if you can please the spiritual master by your service, then that will get his mercy. And by doing that, then you get the mercy of Krishna. No other way. So this is a very deep philosophical point that all of our members in this group understand. That's why they're here. And that's why we have the name Prabhupada Disciples Association. This is not a group that's focusing on anyone else except Srila Prabhupada as Diksha and Siksha Guru for each one of us. Be very clear on that, especially for the new people. The two ways that we're protecting Prabhupada's legacy. Now this legacy, he offered the legacy to all of his disciples. In other words, says, you carry my legacy, you protect it. And that legacy comes in the form of his books, first of all. If the books are unchanged, we have so many different quotes, hundreds and hundreds of quotes to support what we're saying. And if anybody's interested in getting some support for that based on Prabhupada's teachings, they can reach out to us away from the class today, and we'll be happy to supply them with all of the verifiable quotes that specify that Prabhupada's books should not be changed in any shape or form after he had made specific approvals of the additions that were being done. Now, I know most of our members here are fully aware of this, and it doesn't matter what author it is or what artist it is. Most people that produce some kind of literature don't expect other people to come and change one word. That's the way it is. It's not just something we're saying or that Prabhupada, this is common sense. You do not change the words or creation of the creator. You just leave it. And there are all kinds of laws that restrict that. There are copyright laws that restrict that of change. Now, in this particular case of the movement that Prabhupada formed, they do not follow copyright laws. We have proof of this. We have been to Washington. We have we have all of the copyrights in our archives now, in our computers, that show exactly what the copyrights for what books are. And if you change anything in these books, you have to go to Washington and make all the different changes specifically and register them with the Copyright Office. Otherwise, it's not legal. That's legacy. We're talking about Prabhupada's legacy here. And it's very important for us to realize that first, his legacy is contained in his books. Right? When people start to change the books, we use this as a quote. I won't get into the details right now. I saw a video the other day. Someone was speaking about it. And what do they say? Just try to find out the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Offer obeisance to him and render service unto him. The self-realized soul the self-realized soul can deliver the truth because they have seen the truth. When we originally got the Gita, it was he has seen the truth. This has been changed or altered in order to justify 150 gurus. that are in the movement that he formed, 150. And out of 150 gurus, 60 have fallen down, and at least 25% of them right now are embroiled in all kinds of scandal. So legacy, don't change Prabhupada's books. So our legacy is we're protecting Prabhupada's books, and we plan to go ahead and print Prabhupada's books in his original format moving forward, and that's yet to be announced. Number 2, we promote Prabhupada in his legacy by recruiting people to become Prabhupada disciples. Very important point. We're recruiting people. Now, we don't demand that people become Prabhupada disciples through initiation. That is not our platform here. Our platform is to present the philosophy that Prabhupada gave for them to study, for them to follow, and if they have a desire to take it more seriously, to become a disciple, they can approach us. We're forming a Brahminical council, and that Brahminical council will be comprised of senior godbrothers who are of the same disposition. We're all of the same disposition, and we'll have a system that you'll be able to see in our constitution that will explain how this person can achieve initiation as a Prabhupada disciple, going through our rather strict protocol for them to get this initiation. It's not just something you just throw around. You can be this and you can become. No, it's a great honor to be a Prabhupada disciple, and we want to respect that legacy. Why? Because when we all leave this body, which will be within a few years, who's going to be here to preserve Prabhupada's legacy? The disciples of these new gurus? Are they the ones? Or are they looking at, are they protecting Prabhupada's legacy? No. It's all about them and their gurus and their samadhi tombs and their books. They've even stopping the members of that movement that he formed from selling Prabhupada's books in the temples. In some temples, they don't allow the devotees to preach from these books. If you have this book, they make you take it out of the temple. You got to show this one. This one, not that one. This one has 4,000 changes in it. Is that editing? That's changing. This is not protecting Prabhupada's legacy. So that's basically it. I just wanted everyone to know that this is the basis of why we get together, why we're called the Prabhupada Disciples Association, and what our mandate is as group, as members of this group. That we're presenting Prabhupada's original books to all the new people that want to study, and at the same time, we're telling them, if you become serious and you want to get initiated, we'll consider it that you may take initiation and become a Prabhupada disciple in due course of time. Simple. So that when we leave, there are people here that can carry on with the legacy. One last point before we begin the class. The last class, there was an issue that was brought up about the chat, which we thought was a good point to consider, because some people were getting distracted by the chat, in that sometimes people in the chat may make comments which are not related to the class or to the speaker's comments in the class or to the chapter or section of the books we're reading from. So what we're going to do is, you can continue to, all the members of the class, you can continue to write your chat messages in, and the chat messages that are related to the class, Vincott will read them out to the speaker during the question and answer period, and then he can answer them. The other questions, which may not be related to the topics that night, will be cataloged, and then Vincott will send you an email or a message and say, whatever questions you have, you can reach out to our group and send it to Yaśodā or myself or other people in Ram Raghava or other people that are participating in this with us. And then we can give them a further explanation of what and answers we consider to be appropriate for them based on Prabhupada's teachings. So like that, we're going to deal with the chat that way. We're not censoring people. We want everybody to feel, how can I say, welcome here. We want everybody to participate, and we want everybody to join the mission that we have of protecting Prabhupada's legacy moving into the future. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So we'll have the Jaya Radha Madhava prayers. Your questions, we will respond to them after the class, Prabhu, but thank you for putting your hand up. Let's put on the Jaya Radha Madhava and carry on with the class. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Yaśodā-nandana Brajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Viśvakarmā Prabhupāda Swami Radha Krishna Bhogavna Sam Radha Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to God. All glories to God. Thank you very much.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaham Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupaswarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are reading from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Ādi Leela chapter 1. We are reading from the original non-adulterated 1974 edition. We are in Ādi Leela chapter 1, text number 56. All synonyms, translation, purports, and commentaries by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement.
Prabhu, we're sorry, just to interrupt. We're on text 57.
Okay, text 57, page 58. Cintāmaṇi jayati sumagirir gurur me shiksha guruscha bhagavan shikipancha maulihi yatpada kalpataru pallava shekareshu lila swayamvara rasam labate jayashri. Cintāmaṇi jayati. All glory to Cintāmaṇi. Somagiri, Somagiri, the initiating guru. Guru, spiritual master. Me, my. Shiksha guru, instructing spiritual master. Cha, and. Bhagavan, the supreme personality of Godhead. Shikipincha, with peacock feathers. Maulihi, whose head. Yat, whose. Pada, of the lotus feet. Kalpataru, like desired trees. Pallava, like new leaves. Shekareshu, at the toenails. Lila swayamvara, of conjugal pastimes. Rasam, the mellow. Labhati, obtains. Jayashri, Srimati Radharani. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. All glory is to Cintāmaṇi and my initiating spiritual master Somagiri. All glory is to my instructing spiritual master, the supreme personality of Godhead, who wears peacock feathers in his crown, under the shade of his lotus feet, which are like desire trees. Jayashri Radharani enjoys the transcendental mellow of an eternal consort. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This verse is from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, which was written by a great Vaishnava sannyasi named Bilvamaṅgala Ṭhākura, who is also known as Lila Shuka. He intensely desired to enter into the eternal pastimes of the Lord, and he lived at Vrindavana for 700 years in the vicinity of Brahmakunda, a still existing bathing tank in Vrindavan. The history of Bilvamaṅgala Ṭhākura is given in a book called Sri Vallabha Digvijaya. He appeared in the 8th century Shaka era in the province of Dravida and was the chief disciple of Vishnu Swami. In a list of temples and monasteries kept in Shankaracharya's monastery in Dwarka, Bilvamaṅgala is mentioned as the founder of the Dwarkadish temple there. He entrusted the service of his deity to Hari Brahmachari, a disciple of Vallabha Bhatta. Bilvamaṅgala Ṭhākura actually entered into the transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. He has recorded his transcendental experiences and appreciation in the book known as Krishna-caritāmṛta. In the beginning of that book, he has offered his obeisances to his different gurus, and it is to be noted that he has adored them all equally. The first spiritual master mentioned is Cintāmaṇi, who was his instructing spiritual master, because she first showed him the spiritual path. Cintāmaṇi was a prostitute with whom Bilvamaṅgala was intimate earlier in his life. She gave him the inspiration to begin on the path of devotional service. And because she convinced him to give up material existence to try for perfection by loving Krishna, he has first offered his respects to her. Next, he offers his respects to his initiating spiritual master, Somagiri, and then to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was also his instructing spiritual master. He explicitly mentions Bhagavan, who has peacock feathers on his crown, because the Lord of Vrindavana, Krishna the coward boy, used to come to Bilvamaṅgala to talk with him and supply him with milk. In his adoration of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, he described that Jayashri, the goddess of fortune, Srimati Radharani, takes shelter in the shade of his lotus feet to enjoy the transcendental rasa of nuptial love. The complete treatise, Krishna-caritāmṛta, is dedicated to the transcendental pastimes of Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani. It is a book to be read and understood by the most elevated devotees of Sri Krishna. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakayam Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaham. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, who has opened my eyes from the darkness of ignorance with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. So in this short purport here, Srila Prabhupada is describing the exalted position of Bilvamaṅgala Ṭhākura. Now, I don't have a picture here. Some of you may have seen that picture of Bilvamaṅgala Ṭhākura, who is playing on an instrument and chanting the name of the Lord, and Krishna is sitting in front of him. Now, this particular book, Krishna-caritāmṛta, was discovered or rediscovered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his trip to South India, where he discovered the Brahma Samhita in the state of Kerala in the Keshava temple, and also the Krishna-caritāmṛta. And he got the manuscripts of these books copied, and he brought these books back to Jagannath Puri when he finished his tour of South India. Now, what is especially significant here is the exalted position of this devotee, who basically is describing his various spiritual masters. Prabhupada often described Bilvamaṅgala Ṭhākura was addicted to the association of a prostitute. And this prostitute at one point told him that if you only had so much attraction for Krishna as your attraction for me, you would be a great devotee. So he understood from that awakened his spiritual quest to search for Krishna. Now in Vrindavan, Prabhupada describes here, there is a kunda, Brahma Kunda, where this Bilvamaṅgala Ṭhākura used to do his bhajan, his chanting, and Krishna also appeared to him. There are many other stories in connection with him, but safe to say that he was a very exalted devotee who basically explained the position of the pastimes of Radha Krishna. Now in our sampradaya, some of our acharyas like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and a few others have written commentaries on the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Now this is a very important point. In the past, I've also discussed a story how Bhaktivedanta Thakur was approached by his son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, and he wanted to print the Govinda Lilamrita. Govinda Lilamrita was a book that had been written by Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, and it is a very detailed description of the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur put that inquiry to Bhaktivedanta Thakur, the reply was, that yes, you can print. You can print one copy only. So in other words, these kind of very exalted literatures are not meant for public distribution to ordinary persons. Prabhupada related that story in one of his lectures. In other words, one has to follow the proper path to understand these exalted points of our literatures. We have seen in the history of the movement how certain individuals wanted to short-circuit the process of sadhana bhakti, by which gradually one can be elevated to Raganuga Bhakti and Prema Bhakti, by engaging in these intimate discussions of the affairs of Krishna with the gopis. Now, in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, it may be argued that there's a lot of intimate pastimes which are described there. There are a lot of details of Krishna and his association with the gopis, his transcendental Leela in Vrindavan. These things are there, but they are not meant for public preaching. When we went to preach in South India in 1972, we went to a place called Coimbatore, and one Indian gentleman wanted to come and discuss with us the affairs of Radha Krishna according to some of the Puranas. And we basically explained to him that we are not qualified to talk upon these highly elevated subject matters. It is best if you just understand the concepts in the Bhagavad Gita and explain these things to everybody you meet. This was Prabhupada's approach. So when we saw Srila Prabhupada back in Bombay and explained to him what had happened, Prabhupada explained that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never discussed the affairs of Radha Krishna, the intimate pastimes of the gopis in public. He only discussed these things with a few confidential devotees, Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, Sikhi Mahiti, very few devotees. Most of his preaching was Sankirtan, Prasad distribution. But these intimate discussions, they're not meant for public discourse. Now I know there is a popular philosophy that was preached by some advisor after Prabhupada's departure, that Prabhupada gave the basic fundamentals, the basic teachings, and he was going to give the Rasika teachings, the higher, more elevated teachings. And I suggest that this kind of attitude is complete nonsense. It's actually offensive to Srila Prabhupada to make such a statement. Prabhupada taught everything. The basic fundamental, the highest elevated stage, the sadhana bhakti, the raganuga bhakti, the prema bhakti, everything is there. But it has to be understood in the proper format, in the proper sequence. This is a very important point. Otherwise, one can very easily be misled by pretenders and posers claiming that they have a higher understanding of Krishna's teaching, of Lord Chaitanya's teaching, than His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. This is not correct. One should not be disrespectful and minimize the exalted position of the Sampradaya-Acārya Srila Prabhupada. Again, this for those who are a little bit knowledgeable of the history of the movement, since Srila Prabhupada departed especially, and even during his manifested presence, you will understand what we're talking about. This is a very important point, that one should not try to surpass. Now we have seen, since the departure of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, some disciples have written their own commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Now, to the best of our knowledge, throughout Prabhupada's letters and instructions, he never gave the instruction to any disciple to write their own commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. As a matter of fact, in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, there is a purport and a reference where Srila Prabhupada explains if the Acharya has already commented upon something, there's no need to try to outdo the Acharya, to try to make their own commentaries. It has become very popular for many devotees to go beyond Srila Prabhupada's books and letters and conversations, to go to some of the other books of Vaishnavacharyas. Now, what is the quality of these translations? What is the position of the translator? What is the level of realization of these translators? Whether it is accurate or not, that is debatable. But we do know, then this is not debatable. Prabhupada has made many statements that if we read his books, his original purports, follow his instructions, Prabhupada said, this is sufficient for going back to Godhead. It is sufficient for the practice and the preaching of Krishna consciousness. And this is a very important point, because we see that many over-intelligent persons and also ambitious persons will take up to criticizing the position of the Acharya with regards to some of the comments that Srila Prabhupada has made with certain social issues, the position of women in society, the understanding of traveling to other planets, so many, the function of marriage in human society. Prabhupada was presenting the Srimad Bhagavatam philosophy, the Vedic philosophy. Now, modern viewpoints have changed over time. Even in our lifetime, we see so many changes in society, in standards of morality, in standards of understanding what is the proper position of marriage in human society. The Acharya is not trying to conform his teachings to modern changes. Modern changes may be there, but that is not the position of the Acharya, to try to fulfill the speculations and the sense gratificatory pursuits of various mundane persons. That has never been the position of any of our Acharyas. Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, all the great Acharyas in their line, Nimbarka, Vishnu Swami, Vallabhacharya, our Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the six Goswamis, Vishwanath Chakravarti Ṭhākura, Narottam Das Ṭhākura, Baladev Vidyabhūshana, Bhaktivedanta Ṭhākura, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Ṭhākura, or Srila Prabhupada, none of these acharyas have ever compromised the standard of Bhagavad philosophy, of Srimad Bhagavatam, because of some popular opinion or some society fad or some society changes. There is a certain basic understanding that all of these acharyas had. These acharyas are liberated souls. These are highly accomplished Vedic scholars. They are pure souls who do not commit mistakes, have the tendency to cheat or under illusion, the four defects of material existence, of conditioned souls. They're not normal conditioned souls. So if a conditioned soul tries to criticize the position of an acharya, of a great acharya, based on some mundane social changes or some mundane social conception, it can be a great offense. Great offense. There was one conversation in 1976 in Los Angeles where some devotees, some disciples of Srila Prabhupada came to him and they said, well, in the Krishna book, Prabhupada, there's some references to millions and billions of servants and of devotees, but we can't preach like that to people. People will not understand that. And as some of you who may know, Srila Prabhupada sometime was very, very sharp in assessing the situation very quickly. And Prabhupada said, for you, you don't have to bother with that. You don't have to think about that. You don't have to preach from that. In other words, if somebody doesn't have sufficient faith and sufficient respect for the position of the acharya and the position of the sacred shastras or revealed scriptures, then sometimes the acharya will say, you can disregard that. You can disregard that. Of course, if one is a little intelligent and not rebellious and not confrontational, if one understands the position of the acharya, then it's not difficult to accept, even though one may not comprehend according to our mundane logic or mundane perception. Just 2 days ago or 1 day ago, I sent a private email to a few devotees. And basically, it was a list of various dynasties of India, of emperors. We have the modern history of the last few hundred years or this last century, but there's a long history in India of various, all the way from Maharaj Parikshit to Chandragupta dynasty, Pallava dynasty, Chola dynasty, so many great Vaishnava dynasties with very advanced civilization. One time there was a conversation with Srila Prabhupada where people asked Prabhupada, why is it that in the West we don't hear about these great achievements of Indian civilization long time ago? And Prabhupada said, because you are prejudiced. You are biased according to your conditioning, your Western conditioning. So when one looks at the Shastra, whether it's the intimate pastimes of Radha Krishna or the various comments by the Acharya, simply we have to remember who we are dealing with. What is the level of these personalities who have made these commentaries and purports? There was a story that I heard when I was in Vrindavan. Now, I did not find that story anywhere in Prabhupada's books or conversation. Some devotee had come from Bengal and he told me the story. Gorkishore Das Babaji, he used to fast on Ekadasi, near Jal Ekadasi, no food, no water. So one time while observing Ekadasi, he got into a trance. He was chanting and got into a very ecstatic trance, and he kept fasting until the next Ekadasi. And even though people tried to offer him some foodstuffs, he was so absorbed in chanting that he fasted for 15 days. Now, this is not for common man. Nobody should try to imitate this. Nobody should think, oh, I'm going to follow in his footsteps and become a really big devotee and fast for 15 days. No, that is not to be done. But the point is that these great acharyas can do things that are beyond the neophyte devotees, beyond the common devotees. All of these great acharyas in our sampradaya and other sampradaya, they were devotional and intellectual giants. Those of you who have been born in India, you know, in India they have this called Sapta Chiranjeev, 7 immortal souls that do not die, like Hanuman, Vedavyas, and others who are still living. Vedavyas is still living. Hanuman is said to be still living. Other great personalities are also still living. There is a story in our sampradaya that Madhvacharya's brother, Vishnu Tirtha. Vishnu Tirtha is said to be still living in the mountains of Subramanya, southeast of Mangalore, in South India, in the western part of South India. And he has the copper plates of all the teachings of Madhvacharya to be revived when Kali Yuga will be very, very much advanced, to try to revive the teachings. So if somebody is so eager for a living guru, try to find them. Somebody can go to Himalayas in Badrinath. Vedavyas is said to be living there. Somebody can try to find him. It is not like I've often given that quote where Prabhupada described that his Guru Maharaj, on the disappearance day of his Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada said, it is not that he's dead and gone. That is not spiritual understanding. That is why it is forbidden in the Shastra for mundane persons or ordinary persons or neophyte devotees to look upon the spiritual master as an ordinary man. Guru Shu Naramati. Very dangerous position. Very dangerous position to do that. If one does not understand or does not comprehend something, that may be due to conditioning or neophyte level, whatever. But one should not defy the Acharya. Very dangerous position. Anyway, we'll open the discussion. Question, remarks? Hare Krishna. No questions, anyone? We can go on reading.
We had a couple of hands raised. Bhakta Ulysses, and then Balaram Prabhu and Jiva Goswami Prabhu.
Okay, Balaram Prabhu, Hare Krishna, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Just a very short comment regarding the wonderful dynasties, past Vaishnava Acharyas and great Rajas. At the end of, I've just finished the end of the 9th canto, and that is the most beautiful description of all of the wonderful dynasties going back from Parikshit Maharaj right through. So wonderful reference there for those dynasties and the amazing the amazing activities of those great kings. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Jiva Goswami Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. I wanted to know how we as neophyte devotees can detect the more subtle forms of lust in our daily lives. Not the dramatic lust that Bilvamaṅgala Ṭhākura had, but something that might affect us in our daily lives.
What do you think Prabhupada recommends?
I think he recommends the 4 regular principles, chanting Hare Krishna, and then reading his books.
Yes, that is a very good point. Anybody else, any comment on that? In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a description of the various kinds of association with women. And basically, there was one great rishi in Vedic times who recognized there are many different kinds of association with women that constitutes illicit association. I used to know the Sanskrit verse, but I don't know it now. But basically, one should control the association so that he does not become bewildered. It is very easy in the material world to be bewildered by lust. Prabhupada in one lecture explained that there are 6 waves constantly attacking the conditioned soul. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Moha, Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and envy. In other words, we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Kama, Krodha is described as lust and greed, that these are the 3 paths to the lower regions. It is a path of degradation. One should learn to control the senses. And that is why these various restrictions are given by the Acharya. But some may say, well, it's pretty difficult to do that. Well, if one engages the mind in serving Krishna, according to the direction of the Acharya, then one can get the mercy of Krishna. We have the Madan and Mohan deities, that Krishna, Mohan is the demigod that basically affects the lust between all living entities in the material world, Cupid. There's a personality, there's a demigod that controls that. So this Cupid, Madan, can be controlled. Krishna can bewilder even Cupid, can subdue even Cupid. And that is done by following the instruction of the Acharya. There are so many things that have to be done, just like we do the Ekadasi fasting. We're supposed to get up early in the morning, do the program, do the chanting, do the japa, Guru Puja, Tulsi Puja, Bhagavatam, hearing, chanting Hare Krishna, like that, to regulate the senses. If we let the senses out of control, it is very difficult to actually make progress. So that's why these various restrictions are there. Hare Krishna. Yes, Ulysses, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. I've in my spiritual life, I've had the problem that it was pretty much like this prostitute, where he mentions in the verse Cintāmaṇi. So my guru fell down really bad. It was disastrous experience. It was very similar to this, getting initiated by someone who fell down or has fallen. But we see in the purport that Prabhupada mentions the respect is equal. So I'm confused, because I thought one is supposed to reject if like he's fallen, and so there's no more point in showing respect to that person, because he's the one who introduced me to Krishna consciousness and so on. So should I be respectful to that person even though it's now fallen? Mention in that other question is linked to the is Cintāmaṇi considered Bhartma? The technical term is Bhartma Pradarshika Guru, who introduces. Is that would be the same? Thank you.
Well, the point is, how deep is the fall down? And is the fall down something that is still ongoing, or is it an occasional fall down?
Severe, full bottom.
Well, the point is, one should not follow a fallen person. A fallen person is not someone that can really give proper spiritual guidance. So that is why in the Shastras it says that the Acharya or Acharyas should be on a certain level to be able to help other practitioners. So if the person is fallen and serious fall down, he should be rejected. And we can wish him, we can all, as Vaishnavas, we can all wish every living entity, every other Vaishnavas, that they recover from their difficult situation. As far as why people fall down and all of these things, there could be so many different reasons why these things happen. But we're not concerned right now with all of these different reasons. The point is, we do know for a fact that we can basically follow Srila Prabhupada, that we can follow his guidance, we can follow his instruction, we can follow his teachings, and we do know that this works. Now, as far as those people who claim, well, you can't do that unless you have a living guide, well, Prabhupada is living. He's living in sound. He's living in his deity. He's living in his picture. He is there. His Vani is there. His Vani incarnation is there. So one has to basically understand what is the best association. The best association has to be done, has to be gotten. Basically, one has to take advantage of it. Prabhupada did not write his books so that they would become obsolete on the 14th of November, 1977. No. These books were written for all future generations of devotees. His current disciples and future disciples, future followers, it is there. So we're not so much concerned about fallen persons, whether or not we should still have some association with or guidance from such persons. We can wish them the best. We can wish that they recover, but now it's time to focus on Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Yes, Balaram Prabhu, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Just a point on Jiva Goswami Prabhu's points of following the regulative principles and chanting the 16 rounds. I find so important also is the association of devotees. That is, to me, so important. And many of us now, we're all fragmented or separated from our traditional Vaishnava lives in the temples, you know, temple president for 14 years. And so many of us have had so much association, but over the last couple of decades, that close association is not there. So I'm so thankful for the wonderful opportunity that yourself and Viśvakarmā and the Prabhus have provided so that we can have this association. And that's what we have to seek out, because I think association makes us strong. Srila Prabhupada gave the example. One stick can be broken, but you take a bunch of sticks, hold them together, and they can't be broken. So very thankful for this wonderful association. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Viśvakarmā Prabhu, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I wanted to address two questions, one from Jiva Goswami. I'm going to refer to the Bhagavad Gita for the answer. I mean, we are all troubled by material desires. The fickle mind, let's put it that way, is unruly, untamed. It's very difficult to control. And one has to bring it under control by the practice of remembering Krishna through the chanting of the holy name, and really refocusing the mind when it wanders in a indecent way, refocusing it back on the transcendental activity of devotional service. That's one. I find when my mind does wander, Jiva Goswami, for whatever reason, it just seems to be out of the blue. You get all these memories of the past or whatever. I always concentrate on changing my thought process. So what happens is if you dwell on it, then it starts to grow into a troubled area. But if you change your activity, or like say someone, my mind might be wandering in some particular way, and then all of a sudden someone will call me up, a devotee will call me up, and we start a conversation, and boom, whatever thoughts were in my mind, they go away, and then my mind shifts into that conversation of Krishna consciousness that we're having together. And it just, you go on. It's just fighting the mind is an ongoing process for everyone that's in this material world. So you can conquer them. Krishna says, thus a man's pure consciousness is covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust, which veils the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of lust by 1, regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. So we've all read the Gita and we know that, but it never hurts to go back and refer to these wonderful verses to give us some direction. Number 2, in relation to Ulysses, a question about this so-called, he called him a guru. Now, this particular issue of this person that you called a guru was, that's the first mistake. Because somebody introduces you to Krishna, that's okay. They have some credit for that. But if that's all they do, then there's not much in that. Really, Krishna consciousness is much more than simply introducing somebody, give them, for example, I gave a Bhagavad Gita to a devotee, Bhaktivedanta Swami. So you could say, in a sense, I'm his Vartma Pradarshika Guru. We were on Sankirtan, I gave him a book. Okay, good. Then we encouraged him to move into the temple. He came there, I was his temple president. I was instructing him. So you could say I was helping him in his path. So like that, we may take different roles in helping each other. But if a person is posing themselves as a Diksha Guru, when in fact he's not a guru, he's a fraud. Now this guru system that was introduced in Prabhupada's organization was based on a faulty system that was inherited by people from people that had already fallen down. In other words, we had an initial group of 11 people that took the role of Diksha Guru, and eventually most of them fell down. And then instead of changing the approach to the mission, they just transferred it to these other people. And they expanded it to 150 people, which I believe one of these people was a person you knew, correct, Ulysses? Was it somebody you knew or met or was authorized? Huh?
He was rejected from ISKCON, and then he started initiating separately from ISKCON.
Yeah, okay, so he's just a renegade, a guy that's on his own, he's doing this. Okay, that's fine. There's lots of people that can go out and speak and talk. They can get on the pulpit. That's common. People are, nowadays, especially with the internet, everybody can get a microphone, everybody gets a camera, everybody gets online, they can speak to thousands of people, and all of a sudden they become a guru. Does that mean it's authorized? No. That's why the point is this. And, I appreciate one thing about you, that through all this difficulty, you're here at this meeting, right? You've been through a lot of trouble. And I'm not blaming you for anything. Trust me. I blame my God brothers who misrepresented themselves and are continuing to do that to the general population and are not authorized to be in the position, according to Prabhupada's directions, to represent him as Diksha Guru. What are we going to do? Take a Bhagavad Gita like this? Okay, all of you know what it's like at the beginning. We have the list of the disciplic succession here. And it shows, what is it, 32 people there. Is this the right side? Yeah, 32. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to add in another 150 people below on this line? Are you going to do that? Is that what you're going to do? I don't think so. This is all false. And this hypocrisy is going on, and you're the victim of it. And as I do apologize for this happening. Even though it wasn't my fault, we are speaking out about it now and in the future to make sure that this kind of activity doesn't go on the way it is, with the way it has gone on, with all these people that have created this situation. Haribol.
Yes, Dvaipayana Prabhu, please go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to comment to Bhakti Ulysses, actually continuing on from what Viśvakarmā says, which I agree with. But what I'd like to say is that it's not proper to compare Cintāmaṇi, who's, although she may be a prostitute, is mentioned in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, with one of these fallen ISKCON gurus, because it may be that Cintāmaṇi, in the social system at the time, we can understand from the Krishna book that when Krishna and Balaram went to Mathura, all the ladies greeted them and many of them were prostitutes. Also, even in Dwarka, there may have been prostitutes, but because of the social conditioning, we can understand that they were pure devotees. So the same with this Cintāmaṇi. She may have been acting as a prostitute because of the social conditioning, but she's respected by the author because she inspired him to take seriously to spiritual life. So we can understand that this Cintāmaṇi is not an ordinary woman or an ordinary prostitute, and therefore it's not proper to compare her to these fallen ISKCON gurus. That's my comment. Hare Krishna.
I'd like to read something from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is from the 3rd canto, 29th chapter, text number 16. Prabhupada says, although a devotee sees all living entities on a level of spiritual existence, he is not interested in associating with everyone. Simply because a tiger is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord does not mean that we embrace him because of his spiritual relationship with the Supreme Lord. We must associate only with persons who have developed Krishna consciousness. We should befriend and offer special respect to persons who are developed in Krishna consciousness. Other living entities are undoubtedly part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But because their consciousness is still covered and not developed in Krishna consciousness, we should renounce their association. It is said by Vishwanath Chakravarti Ṭhākura that even if one is a Vaishnava, if he's not of good character, his company should be avoided, although he may be offered the respect of a Vaishnava. Anyone who accepts Vishnu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead is accepted as a Vaishnava, but a Vaishnava is expected to develop all the good qualities of the demigods. Again, the foregoing from the 3rd canto, 29th chapter, text number 16. Now, this is a very important point because we see that many devotees will exhibit symptoms which are not in line with the devotional standard. As a matter of fact, this is being discussed widely on the internet, with certain devotees that used to be in the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Mayapur that were involved or allegedly involved, to be a little tactful here legally, in some inappropriate activities with beating children or abusing children or other non-extracurricular activities. Now, the difficulty with this is that the people that supported these individuals, that covered for these individuals, some way or other allowed this to go on. So therefore, Prabhupada is giving warning that, yeah, you can offer the respect to a Vaishnava, that's fine. Prabhupada is saying this here, but one should not associate intimately with such persons. What to speak of regarding them as gurus or authorized spiritual masters. Very important point. Hare Krishna.
Ulysses, go ahead, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for your replies. Unfortunately, I'm still confused. I didn't know that it was possible for a prostitute to be pure devotee, or that I'm still not clear. Should I have no respect for that person whatsoever? Like, no, I completely reject, or I should say he helped me and there's some sort of respect like we see in this verse. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to butt in here and make a comment. Personally, if I went through your situation and I was deceived, dramatically deceived by somebody, lied to, who was acting as a hypocrite, a fake, would I give him respect? No, no respect. In fact, he's someone that deserves to be punished, not respected. So this is according to all Shastra, actually. Look in the case of Lord Chaitanya, when one of his Chota Haridas, was it? When Lord Chaitanya found out that he was even just looking lustfully at a woman, I believe it was he suggested it'd be better to commit suicide. So then stay in his association, and this person went and committed suicide because he had broken these sacred rules of the sannyas life, the sacred rules of what to speak of becoming Diksha Guru. How can you possibly be a Diksha Guru and then turn out to be as the case you're talking about, this guy, Dasa Anudasa? I saw some of the gross pictures. I'm not going to mention them in this class, how disgusting they were. But there should be, whatever sentimental point of view you have, Ulysses, just get rid of it. It's doing you no good. This guy was a big mistake. The only blessing is that you're here today. And that's what you should celebrate, that you can move forward with a proper understanding of what you're supposed to do today, not what happened in the past. We've all been through bad experiences in the past. No question of that. I certainly have had bad experiences. I know all of us might feel that way about ourselves. That's possible. But we don't look back. That's a saying in life. Never look back. Just look forward. Keep going forward. Keep your good association of the devotees that you found now that are all Prabhupada focused, and will not, is our hope that we will not mislead anybody on the path of taking shelter of the pure devotee spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Just water under the bridge. Goodbye. Oh, Ulysses, okay. Go ahead.
It's the confusion arises from, you see, in the purport of this verse that we're studying, Prabhupada mentions that all three are worshipped equally. And so in fact, the first is Cintāmaṇi Jayati, is all glory to Cintāmaṇi. So I guess the question left is Cintāmaṇi a pure devotee? Or is that why she's getting respect?
Let someone else answer, please. Balaram or Dvaipana?
Dvaipana. If she's mentioned in the purport, if she's mentioned in the actual verse of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta by the author, who is also a pure devotee, we can understand that this Cintāmaṇi is not an ordinary person and can't be compared to an ordinary fallen guru. Whether she was a prostitute or not is actually irrelevant. She's mentioned and given respect by the esteemed author. That's my opinion.
Jiva Goswami, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I wanted to bring up a point about Bhaktivedanta Thakur when he writes the 5 prayers for the mercy of Lord Nrsingadev. He starts with the sentence, "Within my sinful heart, the 6 enemies headed by lust perpetually reside." So the question I'd like to discuss is the fact that lust is always there. As you say, the 6 waves are there. Lust, anger, greed, and so forth. Is there a point? We know that Srila Prabhupada never had any illicit sexual thoughts or activities. We know that. He said that personally. So what is the purpose of this perpetual lust that happens?
I'll answer that. This is a gradual process. That's as simple as it is. So just keep following the process. Even over the years, like many of us have been devotees for many, for a lifetime, basically. And lust just seems to have a hold of us because of maybe our upbringing in the West here, especially in North America, Canada here. I mean, you're raised in this culture of lust. That's what it is. It's all Hollywood lifestyle. I mean, I'm going to give you an example. When I was growing up in Hamilton here, I went to the Catholic school system. Now, I was an altar boy for years. I went to Mass every day. I went to Mass at 7 a.m. and served as the altar boy at these Christian Masses. So in grade 8, what they did was they started to have dances for the kids. Like we're kids. We weren't trained like Prabhupada was trained in a Vaishnava family. We were trained. I have a picture of myself. I got a suit on with a tie. Back then in the 50s, they dressed you up. Your mother would dress you. You're going to your first dance. And you go to the dance and all the boys sat on the one side of the room and all of the girls sat on the other side of the room and nobody would approach anybody. Everybody was afraid to do it. But somehow or other, in our upbringing, the ministry, the church, was promoting these at what's called a CYO dance. So it was to bring boys and girls together. And my point to you is that this is the culture that we were in. And it's deeply ingrained in us, the Hollywood culture of beautiful women, fast cars, big buildings, an illusory life of material happiness, which never exists. It's like a dream, living the dream. That's all it is. The only reality is that we're spirit souls incarcerated in this material body with a material mind, a polluted intelligence, and a big false ego. How do you get rid of those? Well, the answer is very simple. You take to the process of Krishna consciousness, you work at it, never give up. And eventually, Krishna will relieve us of this misery that we're stuck in. We're in the prison house of the material body. We're going to get out. Don't give up.
Prabhu, you're on mute. Viśvakarmā, Prabhu.
We're at 9:19. We're going to collect a few more questions or comments from our group, and then we'll come to the conclusion of the class. So anyone else that wants to speak up, please, by all means. Yaśodā? Please.
There is in the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada gives a prayer by Madhavendra Puri, where he prays that now that I have found the association of Lord Krishna, all of these various enemies like lust, anger, all of these various negative qualities are no longer troubling me, because he's so raptured, he's so enthralled by the association of Lord Krishna, by the beauty of Lord Krishna. So there is a system here. There's a process, and a process of deity worship, to engage the mind in the deity worship, and to basically engage our activities, especially for householders, in serving the deity, and basically engaging our mind and our senses in serving Krishna like that. Of course, the chanting is there, the study of the books is there, but the deity worship is especially meant to control the mind, to control the senses. So this is the great gift which Srila Prabhupada has given, that he has given to us this great transcendental treasure of knowledge, and the process of how to achieve the success, how to achieve complete success. It's not like there's some big mystery or some big secret with regards to Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Prabhupada has given us everything. We just have to follow it and pray to Krishna, pray to Srila Prabhupada for mercy.
Dwarkadish, maybe you could make a comment for us, please. We're very honored to have you with us at the class.
Haribol, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Haribol, Haribol.
You put me on the spot. But yeah, I mean, talking all these things about controlling the mind, and we were taught that growing up in ISKCON as a young boy, but it was very artificial, as we saw so many people abuse the children, and really ISKCON was really terrible for family life. That's affected me my whole life. I suffer from anxiety, depression, and other problems. But I know I work at a casino. I'm glad I'm an older age. I'm almost 60. So I can see a lot of the philosophy, goes through my mind, to know this is all temporary, illusory. The casino is very illusory. I mean, I don't know if anyone's, I work day in, day out, and I see it. It's very illusory.
Yep, we do see it.
So, no, this is it's good to be reminded what our duty is, and I appreciate this association we're getting with my elder godbrothers. And Yaśodā-nandana is very dear to me. I've known him. He was my teacher. I don't know if these other devotees know here, but he was one of our Prabhupada appointed as our teacher to teach us Brahma Samhita. And I feel sad. There's not I don't know, Yaśodā-nandana, if you can find a recording of us reciting the Brahma Samhita. That's sad that we don't have it. That was very, we used to chant every day on the special hour of Brahma Muhurta. But Prabhupada wanted Yaśodā-nandana to train us on the mantras, Brahma Samhita mantra. He heard him chanting Brahma Samhita to the deities while they're being dressed or bathed. And Prabhupada told him to stay with us in Vrindavan to train us up. So I always admired Yaśodā-nandana. I don't hear all this stuff that's come out, about the Gurukul, there's not really any kids that say anything negative about Yasoda-nandana. He was strict, but he never, he wasn't abusive. So anyways, I just wanted to acknowledge that. And I won't go any further. It's a long topic.
Well, thank you very much. And like I said, we really appreciate you and all of the God brothers and God sisters that are in this discussion, these weekly discussions. Wednesday at 8 o'clock, Caitanya-caritāmṛta, and Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and the East Coast. And Sunday, Srimad Bhagavatam class, that's at 10 a.m. in the morning. And so all of you know, we have a Prabhupada Disciple TV YouTube channel, which we are expanding. And we're up to, at the end of this week, we'll be at 29 recorded classes, 29. And they're an hour and a half long classes that will be part of our broadcasting schedule. If any of you have any programs that you want to suggest for the channel, or any movies or classes that Prabhupada gave, or videos that might be enlightening for other people that come to the channel to see, let us know. The most important, see, a lot of people, they wonder, well, why are we doing this? Well, we're on a mission. We are on a mission. Now, the mission is to put Prabhupada at the center of our lives and the lives of all the people that come in contact with us. That's it. And we're expanding. For example, we started the Prabhupada Disciples Association a Facebook group page. Now, that's just one medium. A lot of people may not be on Facebook. It's not like a rule of order that everybody should be on Facebook. But we're using the different social medias to present Krishna consciousness, because it is a wonderful venue to spread the truth to the rest of the world. And so already we started about, I guess, Yashoda, about 8 months ago, and we're progressing. Like already this week, we've had over 136 people join the Prabhupada Disciples Association group page on Facebook. That's not very many people, by the way. The internet can produce billions of followers. Like it's a very vast opportunity that we're trying to dovetail, and we are dovetailing as best as we can in Krishna's service, in Prabhupada's mission. And all of you that are using social media, please take advantage of your social media to direct people to become subscribers to the Prabhupada Disciples Association Facebook group page. Because there, like today, Vincod has so brilliantly, streamed this class live to our Facebook group page, and it's also live on YouTube right now. So there's lots of people that can take advantage of the class without necessarily them appearing on the participants in the class Zoom meeting, but they're watching otherwise globally. So our goal is to expand this, and it's with your help, Dwarkadish. It's with your help, Jiva Goswami. It's with your help, Bhakta Robert and Bhakta Chris and all the different people that are on this Zoom meeting, to step up and preach to other people if you get a chance. Look, it's not mandatory. We're not a boot camp here. We're not trying to manage anybody's life. You can do what you want, but I'm encouraging you to help us to do this, because we've started something. There's a principle in life that works this way. If you don't start something, you can't grow it. You can't. You have to, if you don't start something, you can't correct the mistakes that you're doing while trying to develop it. So we have to be progressive in our thinking. That's what we're doing every day. All of us as a group, we're thinking, what more can I do? What is better to do to spread the Sankirtan movement? Not just get up on the pulpit and start preaching, oh, how smart I am. This is not what this is about. This is about getting motivated to carry on in your local area or with your warm network. It's called the warm network of friends and family, and promote what we're doing as a group to them so they can take advantage. I have one Bhakta here in the area. He's 63 years old. He does not miss the classes. I don't want to mention his name. It's a Bhakta. He's 63 years old. He got a set of Bhagavatams from me 6 months ago. He takes the Bhagavatam everywhere he goes. He studies constantly. He loves the Bhagavatam, and he loves these classes because it gives him a chance, like you said, Dorkadish, it gives him a chance to get association with other devotees, and he finds it very inspiring, especially as a new person trying to learn about Krishna consciousness. So we have to take advantage of this, very much so. Is there someone with a last point? I see a hand there, Venkat.
Dwarkadish Prabhu had his hand raised.
Oh, Dwarkadish, please.
Okay. I just wanted to bring up another friend of mine I introduced to the class, invited him. He's been attending Dasha. He's an old Gurukula buddy.
Perfect.
He lives in Australia. Yeah.
Thank you. Beautiful. That's victory. Like for me, I'm not satisfied at all with where we're at. It's just so meager, but we've reached a certain level of development where it's called a startup in a sense. And by this time next year, we're going to see a lot more results if we all work together with the same motive that we described at the beginning of the class, to use the unadulterated books of Srila Prabhupada and to put Prabhupada in the primary position as Diksha and Siksha Guru for each one of us, including our new members. All right, so we're going to end the class and we're going to go to the Kirtan, which is so beautiful, and look forward to the next session on Saturday morning. Venkat, please.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa, Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu, Bhayevacha.
Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Hare Hare Bo.
Glories to the devotees. Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada.